turn that on. There we go. You should be able to hear me shortly, or at this point in a second. So let's kind of take a look through our first questions, if you guys are going to have any. Although there's no questions up, I'm going to be hanging around for you guys to ask questions as you feel like you need them. But I'm not going to be hanging around too long, because if you're just looking for a once-over of the material, I have created a whole bunch more review videos that I put up on my channel. So let me kind of show you where those are so that you can get into those if you'd like the kind of quick once-over of all the different notes. So, as you can see from my channel here, if you go to just youtube.com/c/Garrett Kroner, which is obviously my name, you can get a link to the current live stream, or you can kind of go down here, and I have created a video. I think this one's about 10 minutes for the Renaissance. The Reformation one, because it's kind of two parts, ended up being a little over 20 minutes, and then you also have the Age of Exploration and Discovery, which ended up being close to 15. And then lastly, you have the World Empires and Global Trade, which is going to be kind of 13 minutes or so. So one thing that you can do is you're actually able to create these. You're able to kind of open this, and you can speed up playback if you'd really like to know. All right, so the first question that I see is, where did the Renaissance spread to after it started? So let me kind of bring up a map here. Give me 1 second. Let me find a good one here. You know, I have one in the notes for sure, so let me bring those up. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that with the stuff over there. Okay, so let me find the map I'm looking for to really answer this question. All right, this is good. So this right here is a map of basically the spread of the Reformation, really, when it comes down to it. There's the map. Okay, so as you can kind of see up here, you have, it really kind of starts in particular in what would be considered modern-day Germany at this Wittenberg church, right, where you have Martin Luther basically pop up the 95 Thesis on the church door. So you're going to then kind of get this spreading of Lutheranism, and then a little bit later you're going to get John Calvin, who is going to also break away from the church, and you're going to have Calvinism and Lutheranism kind of spreading out through what would again be modern day Germany, and also Switzerland. You're going to have this kind of hotspot of Calvinism activity here in Switzerland, and they're even going to work their way into France eventually as well, to answer that question. So let's go back to the other ones. Sorry, I need to kind of reorganize my windows here a little bit. Is it super quiet for everybody else? Can you turn your volume up? Let me see if I think my volume should be up pretty high. Let me mess around with this a little bit more, just in case. Hello, hello. Oh, is that why? Can you guys... 1 second. Let me change one thing here quick. Default. Is that better now? Either way, if you can hear me, great. It might be just something. I have a couple different microphones, and this is probably what is the difference. Different which ones I'm using here. If it's the one on my webcam or if it's one on my head, I'm not really quite sure. So let's kind of get back to the review here. So do we need to know any specific dates? Any specific dates at all? So I'm not going to say you really need to know anything too specific for dates. So, you know, just the general kind of flow of things. You shouldn't really need to know too much about the dates for sure. So just kind of know the different main ideas of all the different topics that we covered, right? So you have you have the Renaissance, right? And you want to talk about the people like the humanists and the Christian humanists and all of those people. You should definitely be mindful of. You need to be knowing about people like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. So those people are for sure. You want to know about the spread of the Renaissance and how it comes up through Italy and ultimately into the rest of Europe, and the change and how it affects and changes the world and kind of leads into the Reformation, right? So that's kind of the big, some of the big things for Renaissance you should remember, right? And if you want, obviously, to get into the main detail of the video, main detail of the information, you can just hop into this video when you get done here. So then you have the Reformation, right? So the Reformation is all about the Catholic Church and the breaking away of the Catholic Church, and you have the dissenters and the early dissenters who are upset about the Catholic Church, and you ultimately leads to Luther, who's going to be the bold one, and he's going to post these 95 theses on the church door, and you're going to get the breaking away, right? Lutheranism, and it's all going to be kind of a result of the printing press, right? The printing press and creating Bibles in different languages is going to really force and push this idea that people are going to be able to read the Bible themselves, right? And the clergy won't, no longer needs to for them. So when they can read the Bible themselves, they can interpret themselves, and that's how you get the kind of breaking away of these different groups of Christianity. Lutheranism followed by Calvinism are the big ones for sure. And it's Habib, who's not even in this class. So there's the Reformation stuff. You can hop in there. It leads to the 30 Years' War, the conflict between the Holy Roman Empire and the different principalities and states, kingdoms, if you will, that had kind of fallen to Protestantism over Catholicism. So then you get the Age of Discovery. The Age of Discovery, you want to remember for sure the different people that we talked about, the areas where they explored and who they explored for, and then the reasoning for exploration, things like mercantilism, right? This whole idea that the colonies are going to exist for the sole purpose of helping the father country, right? So all of those things can be found in that video. So don't be keep that in mind. And then all the different empires, right? So the four big ones of the Ottomans, the Mughals, the two. So yes, Jack, you should probably know about the different trade routes for sure. That is going to end up on there, and you can get into the Google Map Blackboard that I put together for you guys to see all that. You should probably know a little bit about the spreading of the religions, the trade routes, and you should definitely know where those countries are and things like that for sure. So the different empires that you're going to need to remember, again, are the Mughals, who are Indian. You're going to have the Ottomans, for sure. You need to know about the Chinese and Japanese, and they're pushing away from the European influence that's going to be coming for them with things like foreign enclaves, right? Places where the traders can trade without influencing the people of these areas. So you definitely keep those things in mind, and the different things that they all trade could definitely show up on your exam tomorrow. So be mindful of that. One of the things that on the exam that might happen or might show up, you might get a picture of something, and you might be asked where this particular good came from, or it might be a picture, and there might be two things in there that that where these things came from. So keep that in mind as well. So again, you want to know where all the different trading materials and how they benefited the different areas. Okay, so let me answer this question, right? So what were John Calvin's beliefs? So John Calvin, let me bring up the Reformation stuff. So, John Calvin in particular, I want to open up this slideshow. So, John Calvin, he's going to come up after Luther, right? So let's just kind of reiterate these two real fast. So Luther, in particular, he's going to believe that your salvation is going to come from this faith alone, right? And that the Bible is the big deal. It's the ultimate authority in Christianity, and anything else is just kind of silly, right? That all humans are equal before God. So he's going to be shocked by the exchanges of wealth for salvation, which is this whole idea of indulgences, right? He's going to write the 95 Thesis, these complaints about the Catholic Church. He's going to pin it up on the church door, and that's where you're going to get Protestantism, right? So Calvin's going to break away a little bit later. I believe it's 1530, sorry. So 1530, he's going to break away, and his main beliefs in particular are that there is this idea of predestination, right? That your fate has already been decided by God. There are these people that are in and there are these people that are out. And that your faith is revealed by living this righteous life, is what we kind of said and what the standard says. And he's going to emphasize this whole idea of working hard and getting in the favor of God's graces, essentially. Okay, so he's going to break away from the Catholic Church. He's going to expand the Protestant movement. And we have a, hey, Miles. I'm going to see if I can get Miles on the screen here for you guys for a second. There's my pooch. He's a big guy. Well, not big, but 55, 60 pounds or so. But he's a little heavy, so I'm going to put him down. But that's Miles, for anyone who is interested. So, anyway, getting back to this, right? So, the expansion of the Protestant movement, as you kind of saw on the map just before, you're going to want to know kind of that it spreads up into what would be modern-day Germany, into Switzerland, and you're going to get the French Huguenots, who are Calvinists, essentially, from France. Are you going to need to know the things that came from the New World and what things came from the Old World? I would recommend knowing the basics anyway. I wouldn't necessarily know what is on the maps necessarily from the slideshows and the PowerPoint and things like that, but I would know kind of the basic things. So things like corn. Let me bring up those slides to answer the question a little bit more. Give me 2 seconds here. Oop, I didn't want to open that. I wanted to open another one. Right, so I would know things for sure like the triangular trade, which is on the screen right here, right? You get the triangular trade, you get the movement of slaves for raw materials and the manufactured goods, right? This triangle that's going to go back and forth. Why are there no maps here on this one? Anyway, you guys know the map, you've seen it, right? It goes from, and not that I have anything on my screen here, but it goes from Africa. They take these manufactured goods from Europe. They trade slaves for them. The slaves are brought over to the Caribbean and North America, right? And when it comes down to it, they're then going to be bartered for your goods, right? Your raw materials and your raw goods that are then going to be transported back over to Europe, where they're going to then use those raw goods to create manufactured goods, and the cycle's going to continue, right? You're going to continue down that triangle. Why is my mouse disappearing? Let me get rid of this. That might change things. There we go. Right, so as we kind of just said, the manufactured goods for sure. You're going to want to know that corn and peanuts are possible. These new food products that are going to be coming from the New World that are going to kind of greatly impact and change European society and help change European society. Other things you have which aren't going to necessarily are still important, things like potatoes and sweet potatoes, beans, certain beans. A lot of these things are going to kind of help drastically change the agricultural landscape in Europe for sure. As far as other imports, exports, let me see if I can come up with anything, right? So for sure, as far as the Chinese goods you're going to want to know, right? The European demand for these, it's going to be porcelain and tea and things like that, which are going to be things that the Europeans are going to be looking for out of China. Okay, so let's go open up the other one. It's China and Japan. I want to close that guy. And give me one more second here. I want to go to this one. right? So as far as the trade goods that are going to be coming out of the Ottoman Empire, what you're going to want to know for sure is that this coffee and ceramics, right? Coffee and ceramics are what's going to be traded out of the Ottoman Empire. There's obviously other things that are going to be traded too, but these are two of the big ones for sure that Virginia wants you guys to know. All right, so what are the main religions of the Mughals, the Ming, the Ottoman, and the Japanese? All right, so in particular, you don't need to worry too much about Ming China, but they're going to be a mixture of Confucianism and Buddhism. But the Ottomans, the Mughals, and for sure you want to know that they are going to be Islamic, right? These are Islamic empires of the 1500s or so, and the Islamic tradition, right? Islam is going to help unify these particular areas for sure. Japan, I believe, also is going to be kind of a mostly Confucianism, and it's going to also, Buddhism is going to begin to spread into Japan as well. Okay, I don't think I see many more questions, so what I can do is I can open up the map and I can kind of break into that, and we can kind of talk about that for a very brief moment or so. So let me open that up and put it up on the screen to answer Jack's kind of questions about the map and what you would need to know. Well, really, you need to know all of it. It is a unit exam. It's comprehensive. So let's kind of bring this over here. Let me make it full screen for you guys, right? So here is your map, right? And it's turned on right now. What it was turned on is your empires and your trade routes, right? So you've got down here, you have the Aztecs in central Mexico, right? Over here, you've got the Mayans. It's really Mayan influence at this point by 1500 or so, for sure. And the big ones down here are the Incas, right, in the New World. Those are your big ones that you need to know, for sure. So, moving along, we've got your Kingdom of England, right? Your Kingdom of France. You've got Portugal. Actually, no, sorry, this is Spain. Portugal would be here, but it's not actually not highlighted, obviously. You have your Tsardom of Russia, which is going to be another big thing for sure. It's going to be popping up and beginning to expand greatly out this direction. You're then going to have the Ottoman Empire, which is going to take root from the Turks, from Turkey. And the Ottomans are going to claim, Constantinople. Which then gets named Istanbul, right? So then over here you have the Songhai Empire in Western Africa, and these are going to be some of the people that are interacting with the Portuguese. These are going to be some people that are interacting with the Portuguese, right, and selling the slaves to the Portuguese and other Europeans to bring them over to the New World, and you're going to make that triangle, right? So over here you have got the Mughal Empire. You have the Mughal Empire, and then you have China right here. Sorry, can you guys give me about 2 minutes? Not even. I'll be back up real quick. I gotta do something fast. I set a timer for something on the stove. I am baking bread. So anyway, going on, right? So what raw materials? So let's keep going. Sorry, I'm trying to read a couple things at once. So that's Ming China, right? So remember these for sure. You're gonna want to know about the trade routes a bit. I would know about the Indian Ocean routes you got over here. You got the South China Sea route, obviously the Silk routes, Silk Road routes, the Mediterranean routes. There's not really too many trade routes you need to know. Okay, so what raw materials were exported from the Americas? I think the only thing that they want you to know for sure is the peanuts and the corn. Okay. So anything else you guys can think of before I kind of just turn you over to what would be the review videos if you want to kind of once over of the material? Don't forget, sorry, too, also while we're here, let's turn off these guys. And this is kind of where your religions ended up on, right? So here you've got Islam that kind of spread out, and then from the Ottoman Empire expanded into, you know, modern day Iraq and Iran, even Pakistan and Afghanistan. You're gonna have Islam. Really, it's gonna also spread down here with the Mughals, but that's not around 1500, right? It's a little bit later than 1500. Hinduism, for sure, is going to end up here in India, and that's when Islam's going to kind of work its way in. And then you're going to have Buddhism as well, that works its way out of India a little bit earlier, obviously. So that's the big things, right? You're going to have Christianity that creeps its way over here. Once you get the Spanish working their way over here, and the arrival of Columbus and the New World, and the spreading of Christianity. How many map questions are there? You know, I'm not quite sure. If you, I don't know off the top of my head. I don't think it'd be any more than 3 or 4. I haven't looked at the test since Friday, honestly, so I don't really know, and Miss Kipperman might have changed it a little bit. So don't quote me on that either. Okay? Anything else? The test is 50 questions. And this would probably ended up being, you know, roughly an hour. So what you can do is you can even, you can go and watch whatever videos if you want to. And that'll probably lead you up to about an hour. One of the things that you can even do if you're not aware, let me show you that quick. I want to go... Here we go. Close this. So what goods traded from the Americas? Peanuts and corn in particular are going to be the two big ones that you're going to want to know. Peanuts and corn. Corn is going to be huge in changing the diets of people all over Europe and even in Africa, right? So if you were unaware, and you're going to probably, I don't know if you're going to hear me or not, I'm going to go desktop audio. You can hear me speak doubly here. But if you're not aware, what you can do is, I actually talked... This is going to be a review video dealing with the Renaissance. I talked fairly slow in these videos that I made, so if you'd like, you can even go to this little thing right here for settings, and you can actually speed things up a little bit, maybe to 1.5, or if that's too fast, you can ease it back, and then it's going to probably sound a little closer to what I actually speak like, but it also make it go probably from about an hour to about 45 minutes worth of videos, right? So you can hear what this sounds like, ideas and things like this, and while people start to kind of get reattracted to these particular ideas, this rebirth is going to kind of lead to the birth of the modern world as we know it. Okay, so anyway, any other last questions before I kind of call it a night here and leave you guys to your own devices for your studying? Okay, night guys. In that case, have a great night. Good luck with your studying, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Hello.